Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I hope all of you will be fine. In the last lecture, we have seen the concept of internal generated voltage and induced torque equations in real DC machines, and power flow and losses in DC machine, and also solved two numericals. In this lecture, we will have a look at DC motors and generators. There are two main categories of DC machines. The first one is DC motor and the second one is DC generator. As we know, DC motor converts electrical power into mechanical power, and DC generator transforms mechanical power into electrical power. During these power conversions, that is mechanical power into electrical power and electrical power into mechanical power, some power losses occur that decrease the quantity of power conversions, as we have already discussed in detail in last week lectures. In this lecture, we will have a detailed look at DC motors and its equivalent circuit. So let's get started with the introduction of DC motors. As there are two types of current. The first one is DC and the second one is AC. DC means direct current and AC means alternating current. The early power systems were DC power systems, but by the 1890s, AC power systems were clearly winning out over DC power systems. Because of the devices like transformers and induction motors, which were becoming very popular for industries. That's why AC power system won the battle over DC power systems, because in industry we mostly use transformers and induction motors. Transformer works only on AC power system. Transformer does not work on DC. By using transformer, we can step up or step down the voltage in case of AC. But in case of DC, we can't use transformer to step up or step down the voltage. That's why AC power system won the battle over DC power systems. So now the question is, why were DC motors so common? In the however, DC motors had never lost their significance, so DC motors were still important. The DC motors were so common because DC motors were used in vehicles like cars, trucks, and aircraft. And then another thing is that speed regulation was much superior in DC motors. We shortly will discuss the speed regulation. But however, after the introduction of power electronics and advancement in power electronics, even AC motors like induction motors started to get the characteristics like DC motors. So nowadays, tendency is to go towards AC motors because there are a lot of advantage of AC motors over DC motors. In this particular course, we will discuss the DC motors in detail. In the next subject, that is in electrical machine 2, we will discuss the AC motors. So in electrical machine 1, we will discuss the DC motors in detail. Usually, the comparison between DC motors is made up of speed regulation. So now the question is, what is the speed regulation? We normally do the comparison between the different types of DC motors based on the speed regulation. So the question is, what is the speed regulation? Speed regulation is the variation in the speed. It means the variation in the speed from no load condition to full load condition, and it's expressed as percentage. That is, when we connect the load across the rotating part of the machine, then the speed of the machine starts to decrease. When we do not connect the load across the rotating part of the machine, then the speed of the DC motor will be different. When we connect the load across the rotating part of the DC motors, then the speed of the DC motor will be different. The speed regulation is basically the change in speed from no load to full load condition. The formula of the speed regulation is shown here, where omega NL means no load speed in radian per second, omega FL means full load speed in radian per second. As we know, omega is equal to 2 pi over 60 into n, where n is the speed in revolution per minute. In industries, we normally measure the speed in revolution per minute instead of radian per second. Therefore, the formula of speed regulation in revolution per minute is NL means no load speed in revolution per minute, and FL means full load speed in revolution per minute. In industry, we mostly measure the speed in revolution per minute. In real DC machines, the equipment which is used to measure the speed is called the tachometer. Tachometer is basically used the speed of DC motors in revolution per minute. We can convert the speed of DC motors one form to another. That is, we can convert the speed in revolution per minute into radian per second, or in radian per second to revolution per minute by using this formula. That is, omega is equal to 2 pi over 60 into n, where n is the speed in revolution per minute, omega means the speed in radian per second. If the speed is given in revolution per minute, then putting the value of speed in this formula, we can find the speed in radian per second. If the speed is given in radian per second, we can find the speed in revolution per minute by using this formula. As we know, 1 revolution is equal to 2 pi. There are two types of speed regulation. The first one is positive speed regulation, and the second one is negative speed regulation. So in case of positive speed regulation, no load speed will be more as compared to the full load speed. For example, if the no load speed is 1000 revolution per minute and full load speed is 800 revolution per minute, putting the value of these speeds in this formula, we get the speed regulation. The answer of speed regulation will be positive. That is 1000 minus 800 over 800 into 1100 is equal to, the answer will be positive. That is, it means when we connect the load across the rotating part of the DC motor, then the speed will drop. If the answer of speed regulation is positive, it means when we connect the load across the rotating part of the DC motor, then the speed will drop. In case of negative speed regulation, it means when we connect the load across the rotating part of the DC motors, then the speed will increase. For example, let the no load speed is 1000 revolution per minute and full load speed is now 1200 revolution per minute. Now the full load speed is more as compared to the no load speed. Then the answer of speed regulation will be negative. It means when we connect the load, then the speed will increase. Normally or practically in real DC motors, the speed regulation is positive because when we connect the load across the rotating part of the DC motors, then the speed drops. The speed drops means the speed regulation positive show the speed drops. This is the basic concept of speed regulation. Now the question is, what is the meaning of magnitude of speed regulation? For example, let the answer of speed regulation is equal to plus 5%. It means the magnitude of speed regulation shows us how fast or how slow speed decreases with respect to load. If the value of the speed regulation is equal to 5%, it means when we connect the load, then the speed of the DC motors will drop around about 5%. If the speed regulation is equal to 10%, it means when we connect the load across the rotating part of the DC motors, then the speed will decrease around 10%. In ideal case, speed regulation will be 0%. 0% means when we connect the load across the rotating part of the machines, then the speed of the DC motor will remain same. We want speed regulation minimum, that is around the 0%. So in practically we want the speed regulation should be minimum or near to 0%. So there are 5 major types of DC motors. The first one is separately excited DC motor. The second one is the shunt DC motor. The third one is the permanent magnet DC motor. The fourth type is the series DC motor. And the fifth and final type is the compounded DC motors. So these 5 types of DC motors we will be seeing one by one. We will discuss in detail one by one. So before beginning of types of DC motors, first of all we will discuss the back EMF of DC motors. This is the important term. It plays a lot of role in the working of DC motors. Now, first of all, we will discuss the back EMF of DC motors. As you can see in this figure, this is the north pole and this is the south pole. This is the static part of the machine and this is the rotating part of the machine. These are the number of conductors. As we know, when the rotor will rotate in the magnetic field, then the voltage will induce across the rotor conductors according to Faraday law of electromagnetic induction, as we have already discussed in detail. The direction of current due to induced in armature will be opposite. That is, when we applied the voltage across the rotating part of the machine, then the current will flow across the conductors. Due to this current, magnetic field will produce. Due to this magnetic field, a force will produce. The direction of the force we can determine by using right hand rule. As we have already discussed, middle finger will will place in the direction of magnetic field, index finger will place in the direction of current, and thumb will show the direction of force. When the current will flow around these conductors, then the force due to this current, according to Ampere law, magnetic field will produce. Due to this magnetic field, force will produce. Due to this force, rotor start to rotate inside the magnetic field. When the rotor will rotate inside the magnetic field, then the voltage will produce across the rotor conductors. So this induced voltage is called the back EMF. We represent the back EMF as EA. The back EMF is the EMF induced in the armature of a motor due to its rotation in the magnetic fields. That is, when the rotor will rotate inside the magnetic field, due to rotation in the magnetic field, voltage will produce across the rotor conductors. This induced voltage is called the back EMF of DC motors. It basically opposes the terminal applied voltage. That is, the voltage which we apply across these conductors. This induced voltage or back EMF will oppose the applied voltage which we apply across the rotating part of the machine. It basically, the internal generated voltage is basically opposes the applied voltage. We represent the back EMF as EA. As we know, EA is equal to K phi into omega. It means we represent the back EMF as EA. It is basically opposite to the applied voltage. EA is basically opposite to the applied voltage. VT. It means EA will cancel out the effect of applied voltage. If EA will be equal to the VT, then the complete effect of VT will be cancelled out. If EA less than the VT, then the sum part of VT will be cancelled out by EA. The advantage of back EMF is it basically reduces the current across these conductors, across the rotor conductors. So the motor does not burn out. If the back EMF, that is internal generated voltage in case of motor, will be more, then the current across these conductors will be less. Due to this, the motor does not burn out. This is the advantage of back EMF. The drawback of back EMF, that is the internal generated voltage in case of DC motor, is it is basically cancel out the effect of terminal voltage. With this, let us now start with the equivalent circuit of DC motors. Now the question is, what is an equivalent circuit? An equivalent circuit is the representation of machine with circuit elements. Circuit element means R, L, I, F. I or voltage, current, resistance or inductance. So every electrical machines has an equivalent circuit. That is, DC motor has an equivalent circuit, DC generator has an equivalent circuit, and transformer has an equivalent circuit as well. The equivalent circuit of DC motor is simple. There are two main elements of the DC motors. The first one is the static part of the machine and the second one is the rotating part of the machine. The static part of the DC motor is called the stator. The rotating part of the DC motor is called the rotor. The winding across the static part of the DC motor is called the field winding, and the winding across the rotating part of the DC motor is called the armature winding. As we know, in case of DC motor, we connect the load across the rotating part of the machine. Now we will represent these two things as a circuit elements. The first one is the static part of the machine. The winding across the static part of the machine is called the field winding. First of all, we will draw the equivalent circuit of the static part of the DC motor. Then we will draw the equivalent circuit of rotating part of the DC motor. Now the first one is the static part of the DC motor called stator. The winding across the static part of the machine is called the field winding. In case of static part, here is the north pole and this is the south pole. Here we use the number of turns. Across the north and south we use the number of turns. When the current will flow across these wires, then according to Ampere law, magnetic field will produce. As we know, the direction of the magnetic field is from north to south. The first element of the static part of the machine is the internal resistance of the field winding. It means we use number of turns across the static part of the machines. The internal resistance of these coils we represent as RF. R means resistance, F means field winding. It means the field resistance. The second part is the inductance. We represent the inductance as LF. As we know, when the current will flow across these number of turns, then the magnetic flux will produce and the direction of the magnetic flux will be north to south. We represent the flux as the inductance. This part we will discuss in detail when we will draw the equivalent circuit of the single phase transformer, where we discuss in detail why we represent the inductance with why we represent the flux with inductance. And the third parameter of the static part of the machine is the variable external resistor called R adjustable or R variable. We use the external resistance across the static part, that is across these number of turns, to control the field current. As we know, when the current will be more, then the flux will be more. To control the current, we use the external resistor. By changing this resistance, we can control the field current. It means we can control the flux. And the fourth element is the voltage source. As we know, when we apply the voltage across these number of turns, then the current will flow. The voltage we represent as Vf because we apply the voltage across the static part of the machine. These are the four main elements across the static part of the machine. Now we will draw the equivalent circuit of these parameters. These are the parameters of the static part of the DC motors. This is the equivalent circuit of the static part of the DC motors, are called the stator. Vf is the voltage source. Due to this, current will flow across the static part of the machine, that is across the number of turns across the north and south. We represent the current as If. This is the R variable. We use this external resistor to control the current If. According to Ohm law, I is equal to V over R. It means by increasing the R, the current, if we increase the R, the current will decrease. The relationship between current and resistor is inversely proportional. We can control the current by changing the value of R. This is the internal resistance of the field winding. Every wire or coil has an internal resistance. Normally the internal resistance of every coil is minimum because we use those material where the resistance or where the internal resistance of the material is minimum. This is the inductance LF because due to flux it is produced as you can see in this figure. When the current will flow, then the flux will produce. The direction of the flux will be north to south. We represent here flux with inductance. In this part, we will discuss in detail when we draw the equivalent circuit of single phase transformer. So this is the equivalent circuit of static part of the DC motors. Now we will draw the equivalent circuit of rotating part of the DC motors. The first parameter will be back EMF. As we have already discussed, when the rotor will rotate in the magnetic field, that is in the north and south magnetic field, when the rotor will rotate, then the voltage will induce. This induced voltage is called the back EMF. We represent the back EMF as EA. In case of motors, when the rotor will rotate in the magnetic field, then the voltage will induce. This voltage is called the back EMF. We represent as EA. And the second parameter is the internal resistance of the armature winding. As we have already discussed, we use the number of loops or coils across the armature or rotor. The internal resistance of the coil is RA. We represent as RA. R means resistance, A means armature. And the third parameter is brush drop voltage. As you can see in this figure, we connect the brush across the rotating part of the machine. We does not connect the brushes across the static part of the machine. We connect the brushes across the rotating part of the machine. We have already discussed the voltage across the brushes will drop. So therefore the third parameter is the brush drop voltage. We represent as VBD. VBD means brush drop voltage. And the fourth element of the armature part is the applied voltage VT. As you can see in this figure, this is the applied voltage. When we apply the voltage, then the current will flow across the rotating part of the machine. Therefore, these are the four parameters of the rotating part of the machine. Now we will draw the equivalent circuit of the rotating part of the machines. Now as you can see here, this is the equivalent circuit of the rotating part of the armature. This is the terminal voltage. When we apply the voltage, then the current will flow in the circuit and we represent as IL. And this is the internal resistance of the armature winding or the number of loops or the coils. We represent as RA. And this is the brush drop voltage and this is the back EMF. These are the elements of the rotating part of the machines. So this is the equivalent circuit of the armature or rotor of the DC motor. This is the equivalent circuit of the stator or field system of the DC motor. Now the question is, what will be the polarities of these voltage source? In case of DC motor, we apply the voltage. It means this is the polarity of the applied voltage. This will be the positive, this will be the negative. As we know, the current will flow, the current flows from high potential to low potential, that is from positive to negative. It means here the current will, the direction of current will be outward. This is the brush drop voltage. It means the voltage always drops across the brushes. That's why the polarity of VBD will be opposite to the terminal voltage. It means here the voltage will drop. Where the voltage will drop, then the polarity of those voltage will be opposite to the terminal voltage. That's why this will be the positive end and this will be the negative end. And also the polarity of back EMF will be positive as well. As we have already discussed, when the rotor will rotate inside the magnetic field in case of DC motors, then the voltage will induce this back EMF or induced voltage will cancel out the terminal voltage. That's why the polarity of back EMF or internal generated voltage in case of DC motors will be opposite to the terminal voltage. It means the polarity of VBT and EA will be opposite to the terminal voltage. So this is the equivalent circuit of rotating part of the machine DC motor, and this is the equivalent circuit of static part of the DC motors. Usually the brush drop voltage can be neglected because as the voltage across the brush is approximately 2 volt, as we have already discussed, the voltage across the brushes will always be 2 volt. So this voltage we can neglect because the value of voltage drop across the brushes is minimum. And the second approximation we can done to draw the equivalent circuit, we can add these two resistors, that is RF and R adjustable. We can add them and show a single resistor in the equivalent circuit. Therefore, now the equivalent circuit of the DC motor now will become like this. This is the equivalent circuit of the rotating part of the DC motor, and this is the equivalent circuit of the static part of the DC motor. As you can see in this circuit, here we neglect the brush drop voltage. As we have already discussed, the voltage across the brushes is minimum. That's why we can neglect in the equivalent circuit. And we also add the internal resistance and the external resistance, both we show RF variable. This is the complete equivalent circuit of a DC motor. By using Ohm law, we can find the value of IF. As we know, IF is equal to VF over RF. RF will be equal to RF plus R adjustable. And the next factor is the LF. As we know, in case of DC, inductance does not play any role. This is only for circuit concept. This factor is very important. In case of DC, inductance does not play any role. This is only for circuit concept we use here. So in case of in the equivalent circuit of static part of the machine, IF will be equal to VF or RF, because LF in case of DC does not play any role. This is only for circuit concept. And here the voltage VT will be equal to, by applying the KVL, we get, if we apply the KVL here, VT minus, because the voltage always drop across the resistor, that's why we use minus sign here. VT minus IA RA, and as you can see here, the voltage, the current is coming out of from negative side. If the current is coming out of negative polarity, then we use negative. So therefore VT minus EA minus IA RA is equal to 0. If we take the EA and IA RA to the left hand side, then the VT will be equal to EA plus IA RA. This is the value of the terminal voltage. If we want to find the value of the terminal voltage, then the value of VT is equal to EA plus IA RA. As we know, EA is equal to K phi into omega and tau induced is equal to K phi into IA, as we have already discussed in detail. These two equations basically define the DC motors. Now we will discuss the magnetizing curve of DC motors. As we know, EA is equal to K phi into omega. This equation we have already derived in the last week lecture. Now we want to derive the characteristics curve. Basically, we want to draw a relationship between EA versus IF, that is internal generated voltage of the DC motor versus the field current, the current across the static part of the machine. The magnetization curve means we draw the relationship between EA versus IF. So this is the basic meaning of the magnetization curve. That is, if we increase the IF, then what will happen to the EA? EA will increase, decrease, or constant. We want to find the relationship between EA versus IF. As in this particular equation, we don't have IF, but we want to find the relationship between EA and IF. As in this particular equation, we don't have IF. But here is the flux. So first of all, we find the relationship between IF and flux. Then we will find the relationship between EA versus IF. As we know, magnetomotive force is equal to N into I. That is, F is equal to N into I. According to Ampere law, the relationship between I and H is directly proportional. That is, magnetic field intensity is equal to Ni over Lc. As you can see in this equation, according to Ampere law, the relationship between current and magnetic field intensity is directly proportional. And as we know, B is equal to mu H. B means the magnetic field density. The relationship between B and H is directly proportional as well. Therefore, as we know, flux is equal to B into A. The relationship between magnetic flux density and flux is directly proportional. Therefore, I is directly proportional to H, magnetic field intensity. Magnetic field intensity is directly proportional to magnetic flux density, and magnetic flux density is directly proportional to the flux. We can say that I is directly proportional to the flux. Therefore, the relationship between field current and flux will be directly proportional. Now, as you can see in this equation, EA directly proportional to flux into omega, where omega is the speed in radian per second. If the speed is constant, then the relationship between magnetic flux and EA is directly proportional. Therefore, the relationship between EA and IF will be directly proportional as well. If the speed is constant, then the relationship between internal generated voltage and IF will be directly proportional, because IF directly proportional to flux and flux is directly proportional to the internal generated voltage. Therefore, these three parameters are directly proportional. That is, IF directly proportional to flux and flux is directly proportional to EA. In other words, we can say that IF is directly proportional to EA. It means the relationship between IF and EA is directly proportional. Directly proportional means when the current will increase, then the internal generated voltage will increase as well. And the relationship between flux and IF is directly proportional as well. It means when the current will increase, then the flux increase as well. As you can see in this figure, when the current will increase, when the IF will increase, then the flux will increase as well. Now, as you can see in this equation, the relationship between flux and EA is directly proportional. It means the same behavior. If the flux will increase, then the EA will increase as well. It means the behavior of flux and EA will be same. If we increase the IF, then the EA will increase. And at the start, the core will be unsaturated. Unsaturated means the relationship between EA and IF will be linear. That is, when we increase the IF, then the same change will occur in EA. After some time, the core is in the knee point. Knee point means the change in voltage now minimum as compared to the current. When we increase the current, now the change is in the voltage will be minimum because the core is near to knee point. In case of saturation point, when we increase the current, then there will be approximate zero change in the voltage or minimum change in the voltage. Normally or practically, the real DC motors works in the knee point. Now the question is, why does the machine work at knee point? Because the reason is to get maximum possible power per unit weight of the DC motor. Another thing here is that at full load there is increase in IF. Further, there will be very small change in the EA. This is the basically magnetizing curve of the DC machine. This graph we will use again and again in the next lectures. That's it for this lecture.